Hi everyone, thank you for watching. Let me caution some of you before I start this review. I do not like these types of movies, generally speaking. There are a couple of exceptions here and there, but for the most part, these movies were not made for me. Now, if you're just watching me for the first time and you haven't seen any of my reviews, and I think a lot of you out there may just be stumbling on this review because a lot of you are going to be Spider-Man fans and Marvel films fans, you don't know that I like older movies better. I like movies from the 1930s going all the way up to maybe the 80s and 90s. I'm not wild about CGI mind numbing fests that don't end, that go on forever, and those kinds of things. But I do like the characters of Marvel. I grew up reading the comic books. Now, when I say I grew up reading the comic books, I'm talking about the 1970s, okay, and even some of the 1980s, 70s, and 80s. So, therefore, I'm not in tune with the modern versions of these characters, and I'm not too thrilled with what they do to change them. So, let me talk about Spider Man No Way Home, and let me tell you how I came to see it. I did not see the other two Spider Man films in this new series, the ones with Tom Holland. I did not see the other two. This is the only one I've seen. Now I saw I think all three of the Tobey Maguire films. I saw whatever they were called, Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. I don't remember the Tobey Maguire ones. And out of the other series with Andrew Garfield, I only saw The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I did not like. So there's where we're at. The Tobey Maguire films, okay, they were okay, I guess, not bad. And I did not like Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, to show you it's not a total loss, the reason I came to see this film was I was visiting some family for Christmas. And as I was visiting the family, one of the younger people there is a big fan of the Marvel films. And he has in his bedroom a big setup with a huge television set and a sound system that's amazing. So he wanted to show me Doctor Strange first. Doctor Strange with Benedict Cumberbatch came out several years ago, and he showed me that movie. I have to tell you, I haven't reviewed Doctor Strange yet, but I did like Doctor Strange um, to some degree. So that's a good thing. He wanted to show me Doctor Strange because he knew that we were going to be going to a theater during this Christmas weekend to see the brand new Spider-Man No Way Home, and he wanted to give me a little bit of a heads up by showing me Doctor Strange first, and I'm glad he did. So I went in kind of aware of the character of Doctor Strange. Of course, I knew Doctor Strange from the old comic books, but as far as the movies. Now let's talk about the Spider-Man movie. Um, there are a lot of spoilers here, so if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to know things, don't watch this. But if you don't care or you've seen it already or whatever, you can watch this. The movie has to do with, at the end of the last film, apparently, something had happened where the whole world knew that Peter Parker was actually Spider Man. Peter Parker's identity was blown, so nobody was able to, or he wasn't able to keep it a secret. But anyway, so he is having a lot of trouble because of that, and the trouble that he's encountering at the beginning of this movie from everybody knowing his identity. Also, I should say, a big important plot point is that they think that Spider-Man is a villain. They think that Spider-Man, I think, killed somebody or something. There's a whole bunch of miscommunication there. So everybody knows Peter Parker's identity, and everybody hates Spider-Man for what he did. So the character of Peter Parker, who played by Tom Holland, uh, now has to kind of rectify that. So he goes to see the magician, so to speak. I call him the magician. The Hulk called him the magician. I remember back in the comic books. Anyway, went to see Doctor Strange at his mansion in New York. And Doctor Strange, again played by Benedict Cumberbatch, has a strange request asked of him. Peter Parker would like him to cast a spell that kind of brainwashes the whole world and makes everybody forget that they know Spider-Man is actually Peter Parker. But during the experiment, there's an interference. Because of this interference, it has a negative effect. What happens is it accidentally has the effect of breaking open the entire, what they call multiverse, the multi-universes, therefore allowing a lot of villains, supervillains, from alternate realities and dimensions to come forth at once. And this is what Spider-Man has to contend with. Now, that all sounds fine and well up to a point, except that, well, some of the villains we have here, Dr. Octopus, aka Doc Ock, we have the Green Goblin. Willem Dafoe makes an appearance again, which is nice. Electro, Jamie Foxx, the Lizard, and the Sandman. Yeah, this is a lot of villains that gather around, and I don't have too much of a problem with that. But what starts happening is these villains, when they see Spider-Man or Peter Parker, they don't recognize him. The reason they don't recognize him, or not all of them recognize, some of them recognize, some of them don't, I forget. But this because this is the biggest problem I have with the film. There are three Spider-Mans in this film, because when this multiverse opens up with alternate realities, the film treats the character of Spider-Man as if all three actors that we've had throughout the last, I don't know, 20 years or so, all three Spider-Mans were different. You know, we have the Tom Holland Spider-Man, the new one. We have Andrew Garfield, the previous one, and the original one, Tobey Maguire. All three actors playing Spider-Man. Now that sounds like fun, and I guess it is for some of you people out there, but for me, I thought it was ridiculous. Okay, there's only one Spider-Man. There are not three Spider-Mans. There's only one reality universe. There's only one Spider-Man, there's only one Peter Parker, and when you start pretending that just because you did three different reboots, you know, of the original series and two reboots, more properly, and because we had three different actors playing Spider-Man over the last 20 years, that does not mean that there were in fact three different Spider-Mans. I don't like that concept at all, so I thought it was stupid, and I couldn't stand that whole approach. Yeah, it was great for nostalgia's sake to see good old Tobey Maguire back again. Tobey Maguire happens to be my favorite of the three Spider-Mans, my favorite Peter Parker. But the problem I have while we're on the subject of Peter Parker is I do not accept Tom Holland as Peter Parker. He just seems like a child. He's way too young looking. And I guess that's the whole point of Spider-Man. You know, I grew up, as I say, in the 1970s reading the Spider-Man comics. I loved Spider-Man. And Peter Parker, even though he was always a high school student, I always somehow thought of him as older anyway. You know what I mean? When you're reading it in comic form or in book form, you can figure he's more mature and old. I just can't grasp the idea of Spider-Man being more like Spider-Boy. You know, he's more like Spider-Boy, they should call him. Because he just seems too young. I know that's the right age. I know he's probably older. I don't know the age of Tom Holland, but he's probably older than Parker was in the original comics. But it just doesn't play right to me. I can't stand a childlike kind of Peter Parker or Spider-Man. It bothers me. And let me talk about some other things here that I don't like in this movie. Okay, the cast of characters, ridiculous. First of all, without saying too much about this because you really can't, I don't know, everything has to be a certain way today will make everybody happy. Let's just say the character, the girlfriend of Peter Parker is played by Zendaya, who plays the character, quote, MJ. You know, MJ used to stand in the comics for Mary Jane Watson. But here she calls herself Michelle Jones, and, you know, things have to be brought up to a modern era. You know, I don't think Zendaya was a proper fit for the character of MJ at all. Not for, again, you're talking about an old guy, relatively older guy who grew up in the 70s. That's not the Mary Jane I know. It just doesn't fit. And the same thing for Peter Parker's friends. And in particular, there's a character in the comic books that was named Flash Thompson, who used to be Peter Parker's rival, and I just saw him for a moment, and he didn't look anything or act anything like the Flash Thompson is supposed to be. I believe in keeping things true to the source, more or less. You know, I remember Flash Thompson was supposed to be this big jock, this football player, blonde-haired football player, and that's not the Flash Thompson we get here. Whatever, so that's over. And even more absurdly is the character of Peter Parker is Aunt May. Aunt May, dear old Aunt May with the white hair. They used to walk around with the white hair and a little bun. Hello, Peter. She used to have her hair tied up. Is now played by a very sexy MILF version of Aunt May, just referred to here as May. He calls her May. It doesn't really say Aunt. May. Hello, May. Hey, what's up, May? We got to get modern here. And May is played by Marissa Tomei, still looking good. And I can't ever remember reading the comic books of the original Spider-Man and wanting to get together with Aunt May. You know what I mean? This Aunt May I'd like to get together with. Look, guys, all wrong. Marissa Tomei is all wrong for this part. And so was Sally Field, by the way, going back to the last series. Another thing, while I'm on the subject, I'm tired of the reboots and then the re-reboots. There's one Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man. That's it. The Amazing Spider-Man. All we needed was the same series all the way through. We don't need to reboot the series every 5, 10 years, whatever it is. It's ridiculous. So you can say I'm not really thrilled with this approach. Now, anything else here before I get on to a little bit more of the story? The one-liners. Look, the Marvel comic books always had one-liners in there, but they take it to an extreme. I cannot stand when every single character has to make a joke. Every character. It's like everybody in this film and everybody in all the Marvel films, and even back to Doctor Strange from I think it was 2014, the first Doctor Strange movie. Everybody has to make a joke. I don't understand why everything's got to be funny. Everything's got to be a joke, a punchline, everything. I don't know. Like somebody might say, Peter Parker might say, I saw the Green Goblin. There was the Green Goblin. He was green and whatever. And then Doctor Strange says, he seems like a jolly fellow. Why does everything have to be a joke? Why does everything have to be a zinger? I can't stand that approach. And I do not like the endless climaxes. You watch these movies, you're waiting for the end to come. It goes on and on and on and on and on. The fights, more deaths, knock this one out, on and on. These are all the same formula that's been going on with these for movies in general, not just the Marvel movies, but this kind of approach, making movies like this, endless CGI effects, and endless climaxes that never come to an end, that go on too long. You can't, when you're sitting in the theater, as I often get with these, and you're thinking to yourself, man, I can't wait to get the hell out of here. Is this almost over yet? Oh, it's still on. Is this going to end soon? You're supposed to be thrilled. You watch movies like this for the last 20, 25 years, and this has been going on, not just the Marvel universe, but a lot of action films and things. And you sit there and you're like, I'm supposed to be sitting here dazzled by these effects. I'm supposed to be really into the action and the thrills a minute. And I'm just bored. And I'm like, well, get it over with. I don't know why that happens, but it does. The music, I hate the soundtracks to these things. They're all the same. You could just take the same soundtrack style for any of these Marvel films, for any of these action films, and just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. I don't know, just a dun 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 dun. There are no identifiable themes or melodies or anything like Jaws. Jaws, you had a great score by John Williams, where you had the shark had a theme. Dun, 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 dun. There's nothing, none of that. It's just the same generic, one size fits all background, unforgettable music sounds, if you could call it music, that doesn't do anything for me. As I said from the beginning, folks, these movies are not made for me. Okay, they're just not. I don't know what else to say at this point. I didn't hate the film. It sounds like I hated the film. On a scale of 4 stars, with 4 being excellent, I give it 2 stars. 2 for me means just average or fair. So it's an average action film. Like I said, I couldn't get behind this concept of 3 Spider-Mans and all the supervillains coming back. I don't subscribe to this notion that there are multi-universes just because there were different actors who played Spider-Man over the past 20 years. I don't like that at all. So it didn't work for me. And then Peter Parker tries to save these villains, by the way. He tries to get it so that he can restore them to sanity and make them, whole again and stuff like that. He wants to help them and stuff like that through what he's doing, dealing with them and fighting them. Yeah, not a fan of these kind of movies. I'm not looking forward to the next one. However, I will tell you this. I do like the character of Doctor Strange. And as much as I don't like a lot of crazy CGI effects, I think when it comes to magic, you have to have CGI effects for the to open up the portals and open up the mirror world, mirror images, and all these things that they do, whatever it is. So I get the idea of overabundance of computer graphics for that. And I did like the first Doctor Strange movie. At least I can say that. And I am thinking about going to the theater to see the new Doctor Strange movie that's supposed to come out in 2022 because I do like the character. And, Benedict Cumberbatch is quite good as Doctor Strange as long as he doesn't get too stupid. Again, I like Doctor Strange. I remember him in the comics being like, he was with the group, the Defenders. He's like, my fellow Defenders, please stand back while you have to be more serious. But when he's over there, Spider-Man, everything's got to be a joke. Well, really, I mean, doesn't that beat all? Making whatever jokes they make all the time. I don't go for that. But one of the things this television set over here is equipped with Disney Plus. I got Disney Plus on my TV set. I haven't canceled it yet, but I got Disney Plus on my TV set because I ordered it to watch the Beatles movie Get Back. Now, I have all the Marvel movies on there, and I'm just thinking, toying with the idea of going through all the Marvel movies. I mean, I've seen one or two of the Iron Man movies and so forth, and I've seen one Avengers film, which I didn't like either, the first one, and so forth. But I'm toying with the idea of watching all the Marvel films while I have the capability here. So be warned. Anyway, that's it, folks. I hope you know where I'm coming from. Talk to you later.